Welcome back to Juckle TV, guys. And this video is 10 reasons why you be a witch in the Middle Ages. A little knowledge bomb for you guys.
Let's get right into it. Birthmarks. Imagine it's the 15th century. You're just minding your own business, trying to avoid the plague and all that. Then one day, you bend over to pick up a turnip or whatever, and your nosy neighbor spots a birthmark on your back. Instead of saying, "Hey, cool birthmark," they scream, "Witch!" Next thing you know, you're at the center of a witch trial. So, what's the big deal with birthmarks? Back in those days, they called them the devil's mark. They literally thought the devil popped down to earth, gave you a little skin doodle, and was like, "Congrats, you're on Team Evil now." It gets even crazier. These devil's marks were believed to be numbed by evil magic. Witch hunters would jab them with needles to test for pain. No ouchies? Congratulations, you're a witch. But some witch hunters used retractable needles, the ones that look like they're giving you a poke but actually aren't. And even if you did react to the needle because, getting poked hurts, they'd just say you were faking it. So no matter how you reacted, you were in a lose-lose situation. Sleepwalking.
If you got a birthmark, you would have been burned at the stake. That is fucking wild.
You see, back in the day, people were superstitious about everything. And someone wandering around at night, eyes closed, mumbling nonsense? Yeah, I mean that's prime witch behavior. They didn't have the science to say, "Oh, that's just Uncle Ted. He's got a sleeping disorder." No, it was more like, "Uncle Ted's chatting with the devil. Get the torches." Now let's say you mumble a few words while you're out and about in your sleep. Today it's no biggie, right? But back then, if you as much as whispered in your sleep, you might as well have been reciting an evil spell. And if by some wild chance, something bad happened the next day, say the blacksmith's horse gets a cold, who's the town going to blame? Yep, our poor Uncle Ted. So, yeah, sleepwalking in the Middle Ages was a risky business. One minute you're snug in bed dreaming of, medieval stuff. The next, you're the star of the local witch trial, whistling. Yeah, you heard that right.
Yo, people were so fucking dumb back then. Whistling. So, birthmarks, sleepwalking, sleep talking, and whistling so far would have got you burned at the stake. And they used to fucking throw people into the water. If they drowned, they weren't a witch. If they somehow knew how to swim, then they were a witch. Then they got burned at the stake.
Right, whistling. In some areas, specific tunes were thought to hold particular power, like there was this one jingle that, if whistled, could supposedly summon a wind strong enough to turn your neighbor's roof into a medieval frisbee, and another one that could allegedly make milk curdle. I mean, come on, if you've got the power to whistle up some witchcraft, you'd think you'd aim higher than ruining Bertha's breakfast. But hey, who am I to judge a witch's priorities? It wasn't just the type of tune that mattered. The place you whistled could land you in hot water too. Whistling near certain trees? Obviously you're holding a meeting with your witchy friends. Whistling while walking past a graveyard? Clear sign you're trying to wake the dead. Whistling inside a church? Huge no-no. There were even beliefs that certain tunes could communicate with animals. I mean, imagine minding your own business, whistling and humming, and suddenly, a cow looks your way. Next thing you know, you're being dragged to the town square, because Bessie the cow seemed a bit too interested in your whistling. You were left-handed. You see, since most people are right-handed, left-handedness has always been a bit of an odd thing, but during the Middle Ages, they thought the devil himself was a lefty. So, naturally, if you were left-handed, people thought you were a witch. It gets weirder. If you were left-handed, your word meant nothing in court. Literally, you could be telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and they'd be like, "Nah, that's the devil talking." So if you're a lefty watching this, just be glad you're living in the 21st century. The worst you've got to deal with is a smudged hand after writing. Yawning. So, when you yawn, you open your mouth wide, right? People in the Middle Ages believed that when your mouth is wide open during a yawn, it's like rolling out the red carpet for demons. Yep, you heard that right. Demons. The idea was that yawning could let your soul slip out. And if your soul steps out, guess what can step in? Demons. There's actually some wild history behind this. During the bubonic plague, people were dropping like flies, and one of the main symptoms? You guessed it, excessive yawning. So, naturally, folks back then connected the dots in the most medieval way possible. They figured yawning was the Grim Reaper's way of snatching souls. Now, If you didn't want to become demon real estate, there was a simple solution. Every time you yawned, you had to make the sign of the cross over your mouth. It was like a spiritual padlock. Not doing this was basically like leaving your front door open. And babies! Oh, they weren't off the hook. When a baby yawned and was too young to do the whole cross-signing thing on their own, an adult had to step in and do it for them. Here's where it ties into the whole witchcraft thing. Yawning without quickly throwing up the cross sign was seen as a big red flag. It was like, hey, either you're already on Team Demon, or you just really don't care about letting these demon spirits hitch a ride. Owning cats. Cats, especially black ones, were a medieval red flag. Why? Well, they're nocturnal, a bit mysterious, and let's be real. They sometimes look at you like they're planning to unalive you. So, when your neighbor Martha sees you with your cats, she's not thinking, what a lovely bunch of kitties. No, Martha's running to the local priest, talking about how you're raising an army of devil's pets. Next thing you know, you're standing in front of an angry mob, trying to explain that Mr. Paws just likes to chase mice, not souls. The irony was, cats were actually great for pest control. They kept the rat population down, which, if you paid attention in history class, meant less risk of spreading the good old bubonic plague. But hey, who needs logic when you've got superstition, right? So there you are, trying to explain how Mr. Paws is more interested in sunbathing than in serving the Dark Lord. But does the mob care? Nope. In their minds, every purr is a secret spell, and every meow is a secret message to the underworld. Cats sneezed near you. So, we've already established that cats were practically BFFs with the devil himself, right? That's like Medieval Superstitions 101. If a cat sneezed near you, people believed the cat was having a chit-chat with you. Now, let's connect the dots here. Cat sneezes near you, and a cat is the devil's friend. So you must be buddy-buddy with the devil too. And what does that make you in the eyes of your superstitious neighbors? A witch, of course. Brewing beer. Brewing your own beer is just a hipster hobby these days. But during the Middle Ages, brewing beer was very common. And it was pretty much a woman's game back then. That's right. Before the days of bearded guys in flannel shirts, it was the medieval ladies who were brewing beer. Now, if you were a woman who brewed beer a little too well, you might find yourself in trouble. Let's say your beer is the talk of the town. It's so good that folks start scratching their heads, wondering how you do it. You know, medieval people weren't exactly champions of logic. So naturally, that's when the neighbors start getting jealous. And what happens when people get jealous? Rumors start spreading. Before you know it, there's rumors about you chanting spells over the brewing pot, 'cause obviously that's the only way beer can taste so good, right? Now, let's break down this medieval brewery setup. You've got your brewing equipment. A big pot for the beer, a nice sturdy stick for stirring, and maybe a cat or two roaming around to keep the mice away from your grains. Pretty standard brewery setup. But this is also the starter kit for a classic witch stereotype. Big pot for witchy potions? Check. Stick that could be a broomstick in disguise? Check. Cats? Well, we just talked about them being friends with the devil, so now you know where the witch stereotype we know today comes from. Being too good at making cheese. Picture this. You're living in a small village where everyone's trying to make cheese, but yours is just amazing. It's creamy like you wouldn't believe, tastier than a feast at the king's castle, and always, I mean always, comes out perfect. Now, your neighbor Dave, his cheese is a disaster. It's like he's trying to invent a new type of rubber. And let's not even start with Old Betty's cheese. It can be used as a substitute for bricks. But there you are, with your perfect cheese. Every single time. People start to wonder, how is it that only their cheese is so good? What's their secret? In those times, folks didn't know much about how bacteria and temperature played a big role in cheese quality. They saw someone crushing it in the cheese game, and their brains went to one place, witchcraft. So rumors start to spread. They think you must be stealing the goodness from their cheese. The idea was that a witch could magically take the quality from someone else's cheese and add it to their own. Sounds bizarre, but that was the kind of thing people believed back then. Having double yolk eggs. Imagine you're a woman living in 16th century France. Your hens start popping out these double yolk eggs. Nowadays you might think, hey, bonus protein. But back then it wasn't so cool. Double yolks were often seen as unnatural and a freak of nature. And who could be responsible for this? A witch, of course. They either believed you have cursed your own hens, or you were using these abnormal eggs for witchcraft rituals. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future.
Oh my god. My brain literally hurts right now. So, you would have been burned at the stake for anything. Imagine if you pulled out a smartphone back then. You're obviously FaceTiming the devil. Burn them at the stake. Till next time.